Top 10 Epic Moments in The Lord of the Rings, Part 1. As an expert in language and mythology, J.R.R. Tolkien was no stranger to tales of epic feats and fascinating characters. It is no surprise that The Lord of the Rings has soared to the level of influence it has, possessing no shortage of heroics and great ambition in the stories that help weave the masterful trilogy. Welcome back to Secrets of the Rings, where we celebrate and delve deep into all things Tolkien. Today we are asking the question, what are the most epic moments in these massive novels? With so many parts to choose from, which ones stand out as definitive moments in the story? Join us as we discuss the first 5 of the 10 most epic moments in The Lord of the Rings, in no particular order, and be sure to stay tuned for Part 2. Tolkien was a master of blending the overtly epic with the subtle and seemingly inconsequential. Therefore, not all of the epic moments in the story feature major battles or duels. We'll begin this list with one of the most important and famous scenes from the books, as well as the movies, the Council of Elrond. This event began in October of Third Age 3018, hosting representatives from each of the free races. Elves, dwarves, men, and hobbits convened coincidentally in Rivendell, seeking to achieve various goals. Of the dwarves came Glóin and his son Gimli, who brought news of Sauron's active search for Bilbo. Boromir came from Minas Tirith to seek counsel from Elrond about dreams had by himself and his brother Faramir regarding Isildur's Bane and the shards of Narsil. Legolas, son of Thranduil of Mirkwood, brought the news of Gollum's escape from the Green Elves. This was a major reveal after Gandalf and Aragorn detailed the hunt for the creature and his delivery to Mirkwood. Gollum was able to escape due to an attack by Sauron's forces several months earlier, marking the beginning of the War of the Ring, along with an attack on Osgiliath that same day. Also at the Council of Elrond were other elves like Erestor, Galdor, and Glorfindel. And then there was Bilbo Baggins, a sneaky and unwelcome Samwise Gamgee, and Frodo Baggins, the inevitable recipient of the One Ring. After several possible plans for the ring were laid out, such as casting it into the Western Sea, giving it to Tom Bombadil, or using it as a weapon against Sauron, the final decision was made to cast it into the fires of Mount Doom to destroy it once and for all. With Frodo volunteering to take on the burden of Ring-bearer and the support of 8 others, the Fellowship of the Ring was formed. Frodo, Sam, Gandalf, Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas, Boromir, Merry, and Pippin departed on December 25th, Third Age 3018. The next epic moment on this list involves a major character at the Council of Elrond, Boromir, whose name translates into Faithful Jewel. A revered warrior in what remained of the Kingdom of Men in Gondor, Boromir's natural instinct and objective when it came to the One Ring was to use it against its creator. He sought desperately to protect his people, but his ambitious passion was easily manipulated into fury by the ring. Boromir found himself trying to take the ring from Frodo when they were alone in the woods of Amon Hen near the river Anduin. This would lead Frodo to finally separate from the rest of the Fellowship, realizing the dangers it posed even around the others. Boromir would lose his composure, nearly turning to the darkness for good, but shortly thereafter redeems himself in the mighty one-man battle against the orcs in defense of Merry and Pippin. The actual fight is not detailed much in the books compared to the amount of screen time it gets in the film, but it nonetheless signifies the heroic nature of the Captain of Gondor. Even after he falls under the influence of the One Ring's allure, he is able to die a noble warrior's death. Boromir opened his eyes and strove to speak. At last, slow words came. "I tried to take the ring from Frodo," he said. "I am sorry. I have paid." His glance strayed to his fallen enemies. 20 at least lay there. "They have gone. The halflings, the orcs have taken them. I think they are not dead. Orcs bound them." He paused and his eyes closed wearily. After a moment he spoke again. "Farewell, Aragorn. Go to Minas Tirith and save my people." "I have failed." "No," said Aragorn, taking his hand and kissing his brow. "You have conquered. Few have gained such a victory. Be at peace. Minas Tirith shall not fall. J.R.R. Tolkien, The Two Towers, 1954. The remainder of the Fellowship, Aragorn, Legolas and Gimli, sent him off in a small funeral boat in the river Anduin, where he was cast down the falls of Rauros. Boromir's last stand saved the lives of Merry and Pippin and helped lead to their eventual rescue. His legend remains one of the major moments of redemption throughout the entire narrative. Skipping forward through the story quite a bit, we find ourselves at the pass of Cirith Ungol, in a classic one-on-one battle between a hobbit and a creature of unimaginable horror. Samwise Gamgee's fight against Shelob was a glorious example of the little guy making a stand against the forces of terror. When Frodo finds himself captured and bound by Shelob in her lair, it is up to Sam to act fast. With Shelob engrossed by her prey and beginning to drag him off, Sam is able to catch her off guard. He spares no time in thinking of courage or consequences before grabbing Sting from beside his master. Sam hacked off a claw from the great spider's foot before poking out an eye of hers. They battled on, with Shelob slamming her body upon him, allowing him to strike deeply with the elvish blade. While she sat regathering herself at some distance away from the hobbit, Sam felt the phial of Galadriel that adorned his neck. He began to utter words in an elvish tongue, which had been a language unfamiliar to him. He could hear the voices of the elves, then summoning even more strength and bravery. He called upon the spider and cast the unbearable light upon her, inciting a violent pain where she had been wounded. The ultimate man versus beast showdown ended with Shelob's retreat due to Sam's onslaught of sword-swinging and the successful rescue of the ring-bearer. This fight illustrates the power of the light in Middle-earth and beyond, fending off Shelob's pure malevolence. Sam proved the might of the hobbits as warriors when called upon. The hobbits are involved with yet another event on this list, helping incite the last march of the Ents. The Ents were large humanoid tree-like beings created early in Middle-earth's history. Yavanna, the Valar of all growing things, sought protectors of the forests after she saw the damage done to them by her husband's dwarves. Through Manwë and by the grace of Eru Ilúvatar, the Ents were created as shepherds of the trees. There were also less sentient beings of the trees, called the Huorns. By the Third Age, much of the forested land in Middle-earth was no longer existent, and the Ents themselves had remained largely out of the events of the other free races, even losing track of the Entwives and halting their reproduction. Several decades before the War of the Ring officially began, Saruman's armies began working tirelessly to fell the trees and harvest the timber of the lands that surrounded Isengard. When Merry and Pippin found themselves in Fangorn Forest after fleeing capture, they would help incite the official meeting of the Ents, known as the Entmoot, at Dundingle. The conclusion of the Entmoot led to the decision to march on Isengard. Treebeard captained the assault, taking place on March 3rd of Third Age 3019. Ents and Huorns ferociously attacked and destroyed Isengard, trapping Saruman in the tower, Orthanc, amongst the newly flooded Nan Curinir that surrounded it. The Ents were victorious and even helped defend Rohan at the Eastment several days later. Nan Curinir was later transformed into a forested land, named the Treegarth of Orthanc, symbolizing the massive win for the Ents and the future of the trees. When King Elessar assumed the throne and reunited the kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor, the Ents became recognized as free peoples with their own self-governance. This massive victory for the Ents illustrates beautifully J.R.R. Tolkien's overt appreciation for nature and distaste for industrialization. The last march of the Ents was a major success for all growing things under Yavanna's domain. Lastly, for today's installment, we look at one of the most iconic one-on-one battles in the entire trilogy, Gandalf versus Durin's Bane. The wizard and the demon went toe-to-toe on the bridge of Khazad-dûm on January 15th of Third Age 3019. Gandalf and the rest of the Fellowship had been making their way through the largely abandoned mines of Moria when they came face to face with an ancient evil, the Balrog that had slain several dwarven kings, Durin VI in Third Age 1980 and King Nain a year later. Durin's Bane had taken up residency deep in the earth since the end of the War of Wrath that concluded the First Age, as many of Morgoth's surviving monsters had done. Gandalf and the Balrog were actually beings of the same order, the Maiar, who ranked just under the Valar. Durin's Bane had been a spirit corrupted by Morgoth's deception and malevolence, while Gandalf, originally known as Olorin, sought wisdom from the other Valar, like Nienna, wisest in matters of grief and mercy. Being considered the wisest of the Maiar, Olorin was chosen as one of the 5 Istari to help the children of Ilúvatar in Middle-earth. Gandalf's mightiest quest took place when he joined the Fellowship of the Ring. As the Balrog appeared at the bridge of Khazad-dûm, only he and Legolas recognized it as the grand threat that it truly was. Gandalf waved the others away, despite their attempts to offer help. Standing small but sturdy against the great evil, the Grey Wizard invoked the spirit of Ilúvatar against that which he called the Flame of Udun, referencing its ancient origins in the northern stronghold of Utumno. Glamdring shined brightly and broke the flaming sword of Durin's Bane as they met. Gandalf then shattered the bridge where the Balrog stood, but as it fell, it cracked its whip around the wizard's legs and dragged him down below. The battle did not end there, however. Gandalf's body burned from the flames of the Balrog, then almost froze in the deep waters where they fell. He pursued the demon for 8 days, climbing the endless stairs to enact the battle on the peak, on top of the mountain Zirak-Zigil. There they fought for 3 days and 2 nights before Gandalf slayed the beast. He too would die in this clash, but was gifted resurrection as Gandalf the White, continuing his mission to protect the free races of Middle-earth with even greater might. This battle signifies the will of Eru Ilúvatar and the strength of the benevolent forces in the War of the Ring. Gandalf successfully denies any chance of Durin's Bane being recruited by Sauron, as he had helped achieve with Smaug many years earlier. This is certainly one of the most iconic fights in the series, and beautifully concludes this list of epic moments. What do you think of this list so far? Which events do you hope to see in the next installment? Please let us know in the comments, and subscribe for more Tolkien content. Farewell, and thank you again for tuning in to Secrets of the Rings.